I would move to open the meeting. Anybody second it?
Second.
Second.
Great. The first thing I wasn't clear on, Jane, I was hoping you could clarify. As a committee, do we need a chair or a co-chair or a facilitator? I have been doing it by default, just.
I think that's fine. You should continue being chair.
Well, it's.
Somebody needs to have questions focused to them or answer questions if they come in for the
Okay.
group.
Is there anybody else who would like to co-facilitate
I
that?
should not do it as select board,
Are either of you,
and probably Heilig should not do it as a staff.
are you interested in co-chairing it with me?
Does it make
It's
a
a good
difference
thing. It's a good thing to do.
for finance committee? Does it make a
No,
difference?
no.
Sure.
Great. Okay. All right, I feel better already.
Glad you took that on.
Do we need to like make a motion?
Yes, would you please?
I'll make a motion for Michael to be chair and Charlie to be co-chair.
I would say we're both co-chairs at this point.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Perfect. You just will need to designate which one's going to run which meeting in the future.
Great, we can do that. Wonderful.
You guys have.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I forgot. Sorry. So that's done. Item number 2, current status of the project. I don't know if folks checked their email in the last couple of hours, but we did get an email from Stephen Copeland from Solar Design Associates, and the gist of the email was twofold. One is a report on timing. He expects to have the design draft done by the end of the week, which is exciting.
Excellent.
He's moving along with that. And I had also posed a secondary question to him about the battery technology and that John had brought up. I'm sorry, remind me, what's it called, John?
Vanadium, you have it.
Vanadium flow battery.
Yeah, thank you. And he said that a decision on that is not needed at this point. It's immaterial what the battery chemistry is, which you guys probably already knew in terms of the application to Eversource. But he didn't offer any negative opinion about vanadium. So that I felt that was encouraging. He didn't red flag it for us or anything like that.
And in all likelihood, this is probably not going to happen for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
And at their fastest rate.
right. And the technology may have,
Yeah, the chemistry will probably be different.
yeah.
So while we're on that, John, the Climate Change Committee wonders whether you would be able to come and talk to them at one of their meetings about this type of battery that they had never heard about.
When do you think that will be?
Well, it's either next Thursday, the 13th, or the second Thursday of the following month.
Or the second Thursday of the month after
Or
that.
the second Thursday of the month after that.
Okay, I'm going to be in Maine on during March, but after March is over, I'd be happy to. Sure, that give me a
Okay,
chance to bone up on it something too.
Okay,
Yeah, it might be something that even for our committee to at least do something so that we can put it on record that we've looked into this and there's something that documentation that we've explored.
we could have a committee
Sure, we could.
with the climate change and solve one problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that would probably make the most sense.
okay, great.
So April,
April,
second week in April.
second week in April. Sure, that sounds good.
Let's get your taxes done early.
And that is a Thursday meeting, not a Wednesday meeting.
That would be Thursday, the 10th of April.
Or we can invite them here.
Right.
They may not be able to come to this. I don't know. We'll check it out. We'll work on it.
We'll work on that by. email.
Anyway, it'll be on the 10th of April or we'll be.
Or the 9th. Oh, well, that's not our meeting time.
Right.
We don't have a meeting time.
We should probably reach out to them before we set a
Yeah.
meeting time.
Yeah.
So we can.
You're looking at 50% of them right now.
Oh, are you? There's only 2 people?
I'm the liaison. I'm not even a voting member on that
Okay.
committee.
Okay. Anyway,
Okay,
all
thank
right,
you.
Sure, sounds good.
excellent. So, that's. And I should also, I brought people up to date. We weren't sure when, at our last meeting, when his site visit was going to be. He was at the site pretty much at the same time we were meeting last week,
Yes.
flying a drone around it and taking pictures of it. So he was making progress there that we just were not aware of, so. And that's why he's able to hopefully complete it in the next week or so, which would be exciting.
Yep.
A long time in coming as well, so. So that's the current update. Any questions on that, or?
Does he need to take into account any, I guess, existing protocols for the site in terms of access or if there's any issue with the existing landfill infrastructure? In other words, if there is, are we gonna have to make provisions if there is something underground that all of a sudden needs to be addressed? Or, who's managing it right now? It's a company,
Solid waste solutions.
So-
Well, no, they're managing
They're
the
just doing the
transportation.
transfer station.
but otherwise,
It's the town's,
so is the DPW would probably be the responsible party
well,
or?
the town, the DPW oversees day to day
Yeah,
But in answer to your question in terms of
underground.
underground,
That
that we
we
have to
cast-
get a permit from the DEP, which we talked about last week, the PCPU application. And the DEP we're gonna have to hire an engineer to do that application.
So are they
And they're
gonna,
going to ascertain what is needed basically to,
one assumes that when it was capped, some details were made, because I don't think they're gonna wanna break the skin
no.
to go down and drill holes.
No,
But I don't know if you have any experience with that, Kayla.
I don't have any specific experience with that, but I pulled up the original permit for the closure of the landfill, and it does have like cross sections of, you know, the grading and the materials that are being filled. So, I mean, that could be helpful maybe. I'm sure they already have documentation of it, but that would definitely be a question for the engineer.
are there any kind of procedures for? Like, I'm not sure exactly what can go wrong, so I'm not, nothing. So if something happens below grade, there's exposure, I don't know, I'm assuming that there's something keeping everything where it's supposed to be. If there's any that's compromised in some way, unrelated to what we're doing, but there's compromise, there must be existing procedures on how to address it and how to access it, or I'm just saying, my question is more to do with where there's hundreds of thousands of solar panels on the site, and they need to get to a specific portion of the site to do maintenance or whatever, or address a issue. It has to be
Access would not be difficult.
right, but I'm just saying we have to probably provision the layout to go and ensure that whatever piece of equipment that they need to bring in there, that all needs to probably.
So most of the fields I have seen have wide rows between panels. They're not just stacked. They have space that you could drive, obviously, for that kind of reason.
Right, but depends on how, I guess, the pieces of equipment or whatever that you probably might need, if they need to get, there's large excavation equipment or core drilling, I don't know.
Are you
Yeah.
saying like after construction or during construction?
Well, just in general, I guess landfills, they must have ongoing maintenance that must be involved with it.
Once they're capped and vented, no. That's done.
they don't wanna disturb anything.
They don't want to just, I'm just saying, if something
If
shifts,
something's settled or something like
Yeah.
that, I mean, theoretically, when Buddy Dusu was over there and whoever was over there, they packed the stuff down every day and they put more stuff in, so hopefully it's not gonna settle that much,
And it's
but you
been,
don't
how
know.
many years now? 20 years. There's no sign of any
Yeah, I
valleys.
assume that's something that the engineer would address, and if he saw something like that, then, but it's all a good point, and it's all something that's worth looking at.
yeah, I just don't want something to happen and all of a sudden,
We have to take it all out because
yeah, there's gonna be an expense, or there's something that we could have done differently to achieve what we're trying to do, had we just kind of rearrange things in a way that is more conducive to whatever they need to do.
Well, I suspect that the distance between the rows of panels has to do with highway width in vehicles, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that since we have a ballasted system, our impact in the ground is negligible. If we need to take out a couple of strips of panels, then it's just going to be an electrical issue and physically moving them.
Yeah. And just stuff that we probably need to at least address in terms of maybe not design wise, but at least in terms of operating procedures and training or whatever. But just to make sure that everybody knows what's going on if a problem arises and how to address it.
Yeah, and usually with the Conservation Commission permit, projects like this will require an operation and maintenance plan that goes with the property. And so whoever the owner is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of whatever stormwater structures, any sorts of like just general maintenance of the property.
Currently, the town is mowing it. They must.
That's correct.
Otherwise, there would be trees on
Correct.
it in 20 years. So it's a big grass field, so. there
But
needs to be
so
some
is
accommodation for that.
our, public, or solid waste is responsible for the road, which is unfortunate, because they're not doing much. Or maybe we are, I don't know, but as you drive in, have you driven in there?
Inside the fence or
Yes,
outside?
inside the fence. It's a disaster.
I like on my bicycle.
You wouldn't notice. Okay. It's got axle breakers.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Okay,
not very good. They're not very good about that, for sure.
I don't know if that's, I would check on that and see if that's a town or solid waste.
And then if that needs to be upgraded, that all has to be factored in. That
I would think we need a subcommittee of this committee that is charged with shepherding the current relationship with the town with solid waste solution and monitoring when contracts are being negotiated so that and working with solid waste solution to determine what is the minimum footprint that they need so that we have room for our battery storage. So I think that's a role that this committee really should play. It's somebody, should be.
So the contract is a 3-year contract.
Okay.
And it's coming into its 2nd year. That's what I know.
Okay, well,
yeah, I'm pretty sure once we get more details.
And the idea of subcommittee of a small committee is hard. I think it's, hey, can you do this and report back? Can you get the plans? Yes. Can you do, that works.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more of a delegation.
Okay.
Delegation.
That's fine.
yeah, that's
As
good.
long as people are open to
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that's great.
So I will check on who
So you-
takes currently.
You're
I
in
will
charge
do
of that
that.
committee?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Committee of one.
Committee of one.
All right, thank you. All right, good. Where are we?
We are now moving right along, permitting schedule.
Yes, so thanks to Kayla, got
Yes, that
on
was
the
very nice.
agenda
Thank you.
in
Of course.
time to get the information to solar design. And in fact, we had an informal ruling. You want to talk about it or?
Yeah, so since this would be a redevelopment project in the riverfront area, the standards allow for basically construction up to 100 feet of the river or the extent of the degraded area, which ended up kind of being basically the same. The landfill, the CAPS landfill is about 100 feet from the river. So we just decided that that's going to be the number we'll use for the setback. And then I also was looking at the old order of conditions for the landfill cap project.
Just interrupted and
Oh,
said
sure,
that's
go
a
ahead.
real big thing because
Yeah.
that's a huge amount of
That's-
real estate.
50 square or 50 or 100.
Yeah.
Linear feet
Yeah,
for many acres.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So what does that, what does that increase our footprint to now?
Let me show you. I have a copy of this.
Oh, John, you're gonna miss this part, sorry.
It's okay. You can just, the number is fine.
Yeah, just a number.
Also, is that one contiguous piece or is it going to be a second piece at some distance?
No, it's all, there's four parcels that the town owns. That are, contiguous along
Yeah.
the river.
Okay, great. It almost looked like it was around 14 acres. Is that right? Or
It
am I
is-
still?
So the footage, there's a brook that runs through it, so that's, I can't give you the exact. But the first parcel is probably half of that, so 70 linear feet front line along the road that you go in on. Second parcel is 135 feet. The main parcel is 450 feet, and the last parcel is 150 feet. So that's our linear footage also along the river, because those are rectangular parcels.
But you are correct that the total acreage is just shy of 14 acres, which is a lot of land.
That's great. That's great.
And obviously Solid Waste Solutions is going to have to carve a little piece of that. Hopefully we can reduce that a little tiny bit in the contract negotiations with them in a year or two.
Here.
And also the battery storage is obviously going to take up some room too.
Fill into, and then there's
But
some.
it's a lot of panels.
Yeah.
This whole area. Yes.
Wow.
Okay,
It's easily 4 megawatts of panels, even with the, the sloping issues and all that stuff. Boy, this could be a nice system. We can use it all.
Here's a picture.
oh, yeah,
I can't remember how many, I think it was only 2 megawatts that we
Yeah.
very
we were watching-
conservatively.
Because that
Right.
you were 200-foot
Yeah,
setback,
and we were
and we
just,
didn't have the extra parcels, and
so this is,
this is larger.
it's a,
Yeah.
and that just completely defrays all of the trenching costs to get to there, which is $600,000. Now it's spread over, 4 megawatts of production versus 2 megawatts,
Yeah.
all the way down the line. It's significant.
Yeah. Yep. It also makes it more likely that we'd be able to capture a contractor that would build supply vanadium flow batteries, because they do have minimums.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah,
Great.
that'll be great. Cost-wise, it's going to make a big difference.
Great. And
Are
here,
the palladium batteries, less expensive than the lithium?
No, they're far more expensive.
Twice. Okay,
It's what happens is it's a matter of scale and life. It's a lifespan and scale. So the larger your system, the more it makes sense to use the vanadiums.
okay.
and they do
They're-
last 2x. Is their durability twice as
Oh, yeah.
long?
Oh yes, easily. Yep. They're the same lifetime as the panels, like around 25 years. The nice thing is when it's done, you have a bunch of scrap steel and the electrolyte that you can sell, because that chemical itself doesn't degrade over time. So we can sell off the expensive, what by that point will be the expensive part of the battery, and just scrap the rest in steel. It's not going to be a hazardous waste thing like there would be with almost any other battery chemistry.
I was so excited when I heard you say that at our last meeting, because that's a huge thing.
It is. It's huge. Yeah. And I think it's just going to get better over time because it's a fairly new technology, and there aren't that many people doing it in the US right now, but it's really going gangbusters. So they're starting to open mines for vanadium, and all that stuff is just getting rolling.
Is there, you infer that the US is not, but are there other countries that you know about that are using it already, or?
Oh yeah, we are using it. We're definitely using it, but it's not as much as say Europe and China.
and scale.
I mean, we're
And
behind everything technically.
Technically, yes. All right,
We interrupted you.
Oh, that's fine.
Go ahead.
So the other thing I was gonna talk about is that the original order of conditions for the landfill closure, which gets recorded at the registry of deeds, and then once you're done, you're supposed to file a certificate of compliance. And then that closes out that order at the registry, which it basically puts a hold, or it puts an encumbrance on the property And you can't have more than one order of conditions open at the same time on the property. So before, you put in the application for the solar project, that needs to get closed out. And, I brought the form with me, but it's a simple form. The only thing is, since the original plans that were approved were stamped by a registered engineer, you need a written statement from a registered engineer saying that the plans were built as described in the permit, and then any deviations that occurred from those original plans, but the rest of the form is very simple.
And we assume that engineer is still alive?
It could be any engineer.
Oh,
It doesn't
any-
have to be the same engineer that designed the original plans. It's
Okay.
just any,
But
any
how
registered
is
engineer.
any engineer gonna be
I
able
was gonna
to?
say, it'd be easier if that one was alive.
It would be, right, it would be, I don't remember, but I'll check.
All right, let me know.
Yeah,
and I'll
I
work-
think
I'll work
they
on
look
that
at the
one, too.
original plans and
Bring
then
it
they
back from
do.
the grave if we need to.
I can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so, and then that's voted on in a conservation commission meeting,
Okay,
but it's not a public hearing. You don't have to,
let me have
do a
all
legal
that.
notice or
and I'll
anything.
work on it. I'm away next week for the week,
Okay,
and I probably don't have time tomorrow or Friday.
that's
So,
fine.
no
I'll
rush.
send you an email.
Okay, great.
We have to do it before we put a shovel in, well, not a shovel, but put some panels on the property.
No, before we send the thing to Eversource. Before, we can't
Was it-
apply to Eversource with this opened.
You could apply, I think you can apply, or you can't apply to the conservation, or you could apply to the Conservation Commission again before this is closed out, but we can't issue a new permit until this
Okay.
one's closed out.
But it shouldn't take long.
No,
Okay. All right. That really was a good catch. Thank you.
Okay, so
So
that
is the engineer gonna do the PCPU? We assume,
an engineer needs to do the piece.
but not the one we have currently hired.
It might make perfect sense to have them do it if they're still alive and familiar with the project.
Okay.
Which is not necessarily a likelihood, but possibility. The first step for that is really to raise some grant money.
Okay, so when the next,
To pay for that engineer so that we don't have to go to the town and
so I wonder if that's something that Pioneer Valley Planning does.
You mean this PC post,
it costs some money.
this, you mean that, doing
The
that form?
PCPU, no.
Oh,
That form should be a piece of cake.
okay,
The PCPU is a it's an
Document.
engineering study to ascertain many of the questions you were raising about the facility, the capacity of the cap to sustain what we're talking about doing to it. And we need an engineer to do that, and that's gonna cost, I heard, $10,000 or $15,000, basically.
So the town belongs to the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. It's I don't know what the right word, consortium of services that various towns can buy instead of having each town having their own.
Okay.
And we can ask the town to use some of their allocated hours with them to do this. for us.
So they have what you're suggesting is they have an engineer on staff.
Yes,
And,
Several.
and there's already town money that's going in
it's
that
paying
direction.
them an annual fee.
Okay,
But I think we have, I don't know, but I think we have a limited amount of access we can have for that. But I know they have helped do things like the age and dementia friendly study that we did. I think they've helped Alex with his media thing. They do all levels of things. And I'm
Okay.
sure they have the capability.
okay. So what's the next step in terms of pursuing that?
I think we need to have a little more detail before we say this is what because we can't, until we have a plan from our current engineer.
Yeah.
We don't have anything for them to work from.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think we need that step.
Yep.
But we can start asking about this other. And
we can engage them just to see what information they're really gonna need. Cause we should probably assume the largest exposure and then go down from there. I'm guessing whether it's a small portion of the property or the larger portion, the work is probably gonna be exactly the same.
Okay, so let's wait until next week.
Well, so he's gonna have his thing done by the end of the
And
week.
then,
We should
and then
be,
you can do a little research. to
I'll
find it.
poke around.
Okay, great. Okay, moving right along. Any questions for you on that, on the PCPU? I mean, while we're shopping at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, it would be good to access some of their financial analysis as well.
I don't know, I've never heard of any programs they're doing doing that.
Okay,
Financial analysis in what way?
well, once we have these numbers, we know how many megawatts this thing's gonna produce. We've done a pro forma based on 2 megawatt. And I had a lot of people kind of providing input on that in the industry, but no single person that's a financial person or an engineer that, whose butt's on the line to say this is all correct and I'll stand by it. And I would feel better about moving ahead if we had a professional come in and actually do the financial pro forma before we're gonna need that.
Yes, we're gonna
Before
do
we
that.
go to the
A
town.
third party.
A third
A
party.
third party.
A third party with a stamp that people will say, oh, yes, a professional looked at that. Am I being sarcastic?
Should probably ask, well, he's no longer on the committee, but maybe, is it Chris?
Yeah,
You should probably ask Chris, maybe if they know somebody that is a third party that they might use.
And earlier on, I heard you say there might be some grants that you knew might exist. for
well,
this.
I want to do some research on
Yeah,
that. I mean, I was thinking about.
I don't
going
do
to-
grant stuff at all.
I was thinking about going to Pioneer Planning Commission, but I
Go
wasn't,
online and look up and see what you can find. that
yeah, I
they
wasn't
do with
really
that.
understanding how they worked with towns, and I think you made that more clear for me. So, so I think it's less of an issue of finding that professional. That's not gonna be that difficult. It's a question of, finding some money to pay them basically, because these are all upfront costs that we're gonna have that it would be best that we don't have to go to the town for. That we, people want to fund this kind of thing. And, there's entities out there, I'm pretty confident that are gonna wanna, if we explain what we're trying to do here, that it's gonna benefit the town and that it's gonna do all this solar and it's gonna have this, possibly a new battery technology that's better and cleaner. We can write a nice grant proposal and get some money to fund some of this.
So what do you know about the green communities? Do you think if the next set of money that the town will get from them after we have spent this amount, that any of that could be put towards
That's
that?
a great idea. And I know who to ask.
I know you do. There
Mr.
you go.
Jack Psychowski.
Because it's certainly benefiting the town, it's using green energy, what else would you like?
I don't know if there's more money coming in or not, but let's find out.
Once, according to my understanding, once we have fulfilled our obligation, and as Kathy has been writing, the invoices, the contracts are sent to the town. The town signs them and pays upfront. When the town has paid and the work is done on a certain schedule, the town gets reimbursed, so then the town gets the money. So they have to upfront the money. When that is all done and finished and this $139,000 is spent, then we get the next issue.
Okay, and remind me, have we allocated or have created plans to spend that initial?
Yes, it's all set.
Okay.
It's all going towards installation at the schools, basically, in
Okay.
various forms.
So that money may be a ways down the pike.
6 months from what I'm hearing.
Okay,
And, yeah,
okay. Let's talk to Jack and
and I don't know if the town has to then apply and say, okay, we're ready for the next cycle, or if it happens automatically. I have stayed sort of on the side of that.
too.
but Kathy might know.
Kathy or Jack, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. Um. So we're just moving down to the end here. John is gonna continue to research vanadium battery alternatives. And, we need to take a better look at the cost of ending end of life. You know, we have some numbers already on that. We don't really have that on the batteries. We just have it on the panels right now, but we
Yeah.
don't really know the batteries yet, so.
I think that's all gonna come under the financial analysis.
Yeah.
It's a subset of
Yeah,
that.
that's fine. That's correct. Good. All right. Anything else people wanted to
I think,
discuss or suggest before we schedule the next meeting? And
I would like to tell you that this committee is moving about 50 times faster than any other committee I have liaison to.
well, that's good.
And I'm happy about it.
Okay,
I don't like
that's
procrastination.
good.
All right,
I think that that's especially good since it took months and months and months to, I think kind of what your experience is that there was a lot of foot dragging until about a month ago and
molasses
finally,
comes to mind in the
finally,
winter.
started happening. I don't know whether we want to be on a monthly scheduled meeting. I think it does push us to like get some things done. I think we will have a line drawing by then and probably make sense to meet again in a month, but I just wanted to get people's feedback about whether, you know, do they want to meet every month and.
I think if we have something to meet about, meeting when we do is appropriate. And since we appear to be having something by the end of next week, and if John can have something, are you back at the end of March, John?
I'll be back at the end of March, yes.
So if we schedule for early April.
Yeah.
For our next meeting, we can do all of this at once.
Okay.
And then if something happens that we need to schedule a meeting before that.
Yeah.
We can always do that.
And what are the open meeting laws, Jane, about us conferring about?
You can talk to me, you can talk to her, you can talk to him. We can't have more than two people talk at the same time. However, you can convey your conversation
To
that
another,
you and I had
okay,
with anyone else on a one-to-one basis.
it's complicated.
But if you send an email and say, what do y'all think about that? You cannot all respond to that email because we'll hear each other's responses and then we are having we're talking as a group.
Okay,
So we cannot have
Alright.
any group.
that is very helpful. Thank
That
you.
shouldn't be a problem.
I think a lot of this is gonna be technical and helpful to kind of have conversations.
And that's why meeting for half an hour is so important because we can do this.
Okay,
Instead of,
okay, great.
and some committees say very explicitly, do not reply all. If you're saying, here's some information, here's the information we got from the engineer. Do not reply all. And each of us can write you and say, but I thought he was gonna do this, or where is, or that's great, or whatever. But one-on-one.
Okay,
Everybody remembers that, we're good.
okay. What about when I sent out a note to everybody saying, don't forget about today's meeting? And I sent it to
problem.
everybody? Okay,
We're
And
not
what-
discussing
We're
it.
not discussing it.
okay,
We're just saying, yeah, I'll be there. No, I won't.
That's informational.
That's informational.
okay. So it's all about discussion.
It's all about discussion.
Okay, sorry, I'm new to all this, so
No, it's okay.
sounds like you guys are.
We'll get you there. It's not very hard.
No,
once you
no,
get the big
no,
picture.
it has a certain intrinsic logic to it.
Yes,
You can reach out, as Jane said, you can reach out to any one of us. So if you need to find something about Conservation Commission, or you want to talk to me about some agendas or something else, that's fine, or,
uh-huh.
you know, what's going on with the Climate Action Committee or anything else,
Or
or
select board, you want to talk?
Select Board or Finance Committee or whatever. That's okay.
But we can't have a public And the reason you do a poll instead of saying, when can you come? If you do the Google thing, again, if you say, can you make a meeting on the 15th at 2 o'clock or whatever? You can say yes or no. But if we start to say, well, I could come on Thursday, and he says I could come on Monday, that's a negotiation, stop. But that's why people use Google Docs to set, I can't do Google Docs, I'm just saying, I know it happens, but I just say, I tell one person who sends the doc, I can't deal with this, these are the days I can come.
Or the doodle poll.
Google, that's what it's called, yeah.
I used to sometimes.
You sent it.
I sent out a spreadsheet
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was perfect.
and I could do that again.
Yeah.
Sounds like I could do that. I didn't break any rules.
If, as long as we don't all see
And
it.
then I have to,
Oh, but what if we see each other's responses?
Well, that's okay, as long as we don't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
all right,
Just don't talk about it, that's,
and I will give you the information
okay.
out of a spreadsheet, which I didn't do
Okay.
last time on time. Okay, so if you were saying beginning of
Sounds
April,
like John's gonna be,
so let's pick a time, the beginning of April.
and see if we can do that, all right.
April 2nd is a Wednesday night. If we wanted to do this with the climate committee. that
Wednesday
would not be
night, the
there.
2nd is a select board meeting.
Okay.
No.
But if we do it early, 4:30.
I can't
But she
come.
hates that.
No, I have a massage at 4 o'clock Wednesday, the 2nd, I'm not coming. Sorry,
Week
Uh,
after?
What about
or
what
Thursday,
about doing it that Thursday at tentatively? Let's pick a couple dates and is that okay?
suggestion, what if we look at Thursday, the 10th, which is also the date that climate change
Is
meets?
it the second? Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, that was a good one.
And then the time is to be determined, whether we come to their meeting at 7 or they come to our meeting at
They
4:30.
have to come to ours.
All right, they need to come to ours, they wanna know about this, but
Yeah,
that would
exactly.
work. Who on climate change couldn't come? Kathy could come early,
I don't know.
both Kathys
We'll
could
find
come
out.
early.
We can negotiate the time.
All right,
But let's shoot.
All right, so let's-
4:30 is nice. I'm still awake.
I like it. I still get to eat dinner. All right, so Thursday, the 10th is the next meeting for solar lamp.
John, does that work for you?
Yep, you bet.
Okay, awesome. At 4:30 to be confirmed. That's wonderful.
You sent the minutes out, right?
Yes,
I did,
So we should probably
yes.
approve the minutes.
next meeting. I didn't read it. Oh, we can approve it. That's fine.
I could send you a copy right now. and you can-
Can't read it online.
Oh, okay.
It's fine.
That's okay, we can do it next meeting.
Okay.
We can-
Well, two sets of meeting, two
Yeah.
sets of notes.
That's fine.
Okay. And while we're on the topic of minutes, you had suggested that we dictaphone or transcribe the text from the video.
Do
And-
you know how to make Microsoft Word read the language from your video?
In what way? Like
Into,
Transcribe it.
to transcribe it into Word?
in real time?
No,
Or
afterwards.
I think it does it, right? YouTube.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure. So we put up subtitles for all meetings.
No, I want it so that it prints out so that we have something for minutes that we would then go back in and organize or take out stuff that wasn't necessary.
Well, that's what he would do.
I think that's possible.
Zoom has like an AI transcript thing, but I don't know about minutes. Like it will be word for word.
Exactly,
yeah,
then you,
the
and then
time
you
that
have
we
to,
attach
then you
to
have to clean it up, but at least you know where you're starting. And nobody has to actually be writing it down because whoever cleans it up from that.
I mean, yeah, I think you can like, instead of like burning it into the video, I can download it as a separate file.
The transcript
Yeah,
of the meeting, and then we can modify it.
That would be great, if it could be
Yeah.
putting up a Word file that we can then work on.
It's not gonna have the names of whoever's saying it, though.
Right.
Hmm.
And hopefully we're small enough that we can
Figure it out.
I don't know. allergic to the idea of taking minutes last time, and I took them and I sent them out, and if they're adequate.
Yeah, they don't have to
What
be
you guys
word
thought.
for word.
Then,
A
you know, that's
conversation
fine.
ensued
I think
about,
Then I'm okay with that, cause it's almost better to really have just a few bullets
Yeah.
of what we decided and what we're doing, otherwise we're gonna get lost in all this.
yes,
Yeah.
you don't want, I mean, if you look at the select board minutes, they are word for word, and that is just sleep medicine.
Yeah. And so what I did was I did the minutes and I highlighted in yellow the kind of
Yep.
stuff that we would wanna go back to once we do a report and go to the select board and like, this is, you
Perfect.
know, so. Maybe, I can keep doing that. As long as it's
And,
what I sent.
and the other thing is, if you do have a question, you can always refer to the video.
Right,
Yeah.
all right, I would make a motion to adjourn this meeting,
Second,
okay?
you have to say all those in favor.